Today, we're going to learn about a man named Ismail Haniyeh. He was a big deal for Palestinians, especially in a place called Gaza. Are you ready to uncover the twists and turns of his remarkable life? Early life and background. Ismail Haniyeh's story begins in 1963 in the Al-Shadi refugee camp. This camp was located in Gaza, a small strip of land nestled between Israel and Egypt. But why was Haniyeh born in a refugee camp? Well, his parents weren't always from Gaza. They were forced to leave their home in a city called Ashkelon when Israel became a country in 1948. This event, known as the Nakba or catastrophe by Palestinians, shaped Haniyeh's life from the very beginning. Growing up in Al-Shadi wasn't easy. Refugee camps are often overcrowded, with limited resources and opportunities. But despite these challenges, young Ismail showed determination and a thirst for knowledge. He attended local schools run by the United Nations, where he excelled in his studies. His teachers often praised his intelligence and his ability to overcome the hardships of camp life. As a teenager, Haniyeh witnessed the struggles of his community firsthand. He saw families crowded into small homes, people struggling to find work, and the constant tension with nearby Israeli forces. These experiences deeply influenced his worldview. Education and early activism. Haniyeh's hard work in school paid off. He earned a spot at the Islamic University of Gaza, where he studied Arabic literature. At university, Haniyeh didn't just focus on his books. He got involved in student politics, becoming a leader in the Islamic bloc. It was during his university years that Haniyeh's political activism really took off. He organized protests and spoke out about the rights of Palestinians. This was a time of growing tension between Palestinians and Israel, and young people like Haniyeh were at the forefront of a new wave of resistance. Getting involved with Hammas. In 1987, something big happened. Palestinians started a massive protest movement against Israeli occupation. This was called the First Intifada. It was during this turbulent time that a group called Hammas was created. Hammas said they wanted to fight for Palestinian rights and resist Israeli control. Haniyeh, with his experience in student activism, quickly became involved with Hammas. He saw it as a way to make a real difference for his people. But this decision came with risks. The Israeli authorities considered Hammas a dangerous group. Haniyeh was arrested several times for participating in protests and other activities. He spent time in Israeli prisons, where he met other Palestinian activists and leaders. In 1992, something unexpected happened. Haniyeh, along with hundreds of other Hammas members, was exiled to Lebanon. This could have been a major setback, but Haniyeh used this time to learn and grow. He met with other exiled leaders, studied political theory, and developed his skills as a speaker and organizer. Rising through the ranks. When Haniyeh returned to Gaza in 1993, he was a changed man. He quickly became involved with Hammas again, but now he was seen as a more experienced and valuable member. Haniyeh's big break came when he was appointed to be an assistant to Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, the founder of Hammas. This was a huge honor and responsibility. Yassin was respected not just as a political leader, but as a spiritual guide for many Palestinians. Tragically, Sheikh Yassin was killed in an Israeli airstrike in 2004. This was a huge blow to Hammas and Haniyeh personally, but it also thrust Haniyeh into a more prominent role. He was now seen as one of the up-and-coming leaders of Hammas, someone who could potentially lead the organization into the future. Political success and challenges. In 2006, something happened that shocked many people around the world. There was an election for the Palestinian Legislative Council, and Hammas decided to participate. To everyone's surprise, Hammas won a majority of the seats. This meant that Hammas, which many countries considered a terrorist organization, was now in charge of the Palestinian government. Ismail Haniyeh became the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority. Haniyeh promised to fight corruption, improve services for Palestinians, and continued to stand up for Palestinian rights. But being prime minister wasn't easy. Many countries, including the United States and members of the European Union, refused to work with a Hamas-led government. They cut off aid and imposed sanctions. This meant that Hammas, which many countries considered a terrorist organization, was now in charge of the Palestinian government. This made it very difficult for Haniyeh to govern effectively or improve the lives of Palestinians as he had hoped. To make matters worse, there were growing tensions between Hammas and Fatah, another Palestinian political group. These tensions eventually led to open conflict. In 2007, Hammas took control of the Gaza Strip, while Fatah remained in charge in the West Bank. This split in Palestinian leadership has continued to this day. Life as a leader in Gaza. As the leader of Hammas in Gaza, Haniyeh faced enormous challenges. Israel and Egypt imposed a blockade on Gaza, severely restricting what could go in or out. This made life very difficult for the people of Gaza, and Haniyeh had to find ways to manage with very limited resources. Despite these challenges, Haniyeh tried to improve life in Gaza. He oversaw the construction of new schools and hospitals. He worked to maintain some level of public services, even with severe shortages of electricity and clean water. Many Gazans appreciated his efforts to stand up to Israel and his attempts to break the blockade. Haniyeh also became known for his speeches and public appearances. He was a charismatic speaker who could inspire crowds with his words. He often spoke about Palestinian rights, the hardships of life under blockade, and the need for unity among Palestinians. In 2017, Haniyeh's role changed again. He was elected as the overall leader of Hammas, not just the leader in Gaza. This new position required him to travel more and engage in international diplomacy. As a result, he moved to Qatar, where Hammas has an office. Haniyeh worked to improve Hammas's international standing. He met with leaders from countries like Turkey, Iran, and Russia. He tried to present Hammas as a legitimate resistance movement rather than a terrorist organization. The Big War of 2023. In October 2023, the situation in Gaza changed dramatically. Hammas launched a surprise attack on Israel, leading to a full-scale war. The conflict was devastating for both sides, but especially for the people of Gaza. Israel's response to the attack was massive and destructive. During this war, Haniyeh played a crucial role as the voice of Hammas. He gave speeches justifying the attack as a response to years of Israeli occupation and blockade. Haniyeh's own family was not spared from the violence. Several of his relatives, including some of his children and grandchildren, were killed in Israeli airstrikes. As the war continued into 2024, Haniyeh intensified his diplomatic efforts. He traveled to several countries, trying to gather support for the Palestinian cause and push for an end to the fighting. In July 2024, he visited Iran, a country that had long supported Hammas. But on July 31, 2024, something shocking happened. Ismail Haniyeh had come to Iran from Doha. He was living in Hotel of Tehran, which is capital of Iran. He came here to attend the Iranian president's event. After the event, Mossad traced Ismail through WhatsApp. After this at night, he was sleeping in his room. Mossad attacked with a missile on his room. Hammas quickly announced that Israel was responsible for his death, calling it an assassination. Israel neither confirmed nor denied involvement. The news of Haniyeh's death sent shockwaves through the Palestinian territories and the wider Middle East. What happened next? The death of Ismail Haniyeh left a big question mark over the future of Hammas and the Palestinian cause. In Gaza, many people mourned his loss. They saw him as a leader who had risen from humble beginnings to fight for their rights on the world stage. Some hoped that Haniyeh's death might lead to a ceasefire or even peace talks. They thought that without his strong leadership, Hammas might be more willing to negotiate. Others feared that his death would lead to even more violence, as Hammas sought revenge. In the days following Haniyeh's death, there were protests and demonstrations across Gaza and the West Bank. People expressed their anger and grief, but also their determination to continue the struggle for Palestinian rights. His sudden death in Iran marked the end of an era in Palestinian politics and left many questions about the future.